Hi guys, this is Aurora, and today we're going to find out about what the Pluto transit into Aquarius means for you. Now, we all know that Pluto moves very slowly. It's in each planet for about 20 or so years, so it only has so many opportunities to transit within your life, which means that each time it moves into another sign, it's going to be a big, punchy change in your life. And I'm nosy. I want to know what that change is going to be. So let's jump right into it. We'll do one last little shuffle. Can't talk. Okay. I like to start with 3 cards. If you've seen a reading from me before, then you probably already know that. Ooh, Queen of Pentacles reversed, the Moon, and the 6 of Wands. Interesting. Okay. So, right off the bat, I hate to say it, but this Queen of Pentacles does feel like a classic reversal, right? I feel like there might be some sort of loss in the control of your finances, some loss in the control of your health, wealth, and happiness, which is never honestly quite what we want to see, right? Now, the Queen to me has always represented the family aspect, the personal aspect of the Pentacles, whereas the King to me seems more like systems, right? I think of the First Lady of the United States typically is forming policies about or not necessarily policies, but initiatives to help children, take care of the homeless. It's more about the people, less about the policy. And I don't know if you can quite tell, but this queen has kind of a little bit of a dour look on her face. She knows how much weight is in her hands, how much responsibility she has to her citizens. And I feel like this is a weight that tolls very heavily on you. I feel like there's some sort of general heaviness when it comes to your health, your wealth, and your happiness in these coming days. And maybe it's already started because Pluto has already made the transit. That's up for you to say. Now, that is taking us into the moon. So without this kind of solid ground that we prefer, we are really in this unknown territory. And the moon is all about listening to your intuition as you go through those unknown territories. You're going into, the depths, into the subconscious in order to figure it out, in order to find what it is you're looking for. It definitely is a more emotional kind of adventure, a more intuitive kind of adventure rather than a strategic adventure. It's not anything that you typically have planned. You might gather some resources if you can beforehand, but often you're kind of going into it blind, and that's okay. This card is ruled by Pisces, I want to say, and so this might particularly resonate for you Pisces moons out there, or just Pisces as a whole. But ultimately, this adventure is going to lead to some sort of achievement, some sort of success and satisfaction. And I think what really gets me about this card is that not only do we have the wand crisscrossing here, we also have the shield behind us. So whatever victory you have is a very well-defended victory. It's a very well thought out victory. It's not something that just lands in your lap like, oh, well, that worked out well enough. No, once you're in this void space, I feel like you are getting your grip as soon as possible and creating a plan that allows you to thrive. And obviously it has. So let's get some details. I'm honestly pretty interested in every single one of these cards. I want to deep dive into every single one, but let's start with the Queen of Pentacles in reverse. Can I get some clarity on the Queen of Pentacles in reverse? You're definitely starting from the bottom now. You're here kind of vibes. You're making it work. Pentacles. Ooh, cards almost popped out, but not quite. We'll do one last one just to give them an opportunity to come up if they're important. Okay, the clarity for the Queen of Pentacles. The Empress, okay. And the Ace of Swords. Now to clarify, just in case you're only listening and not watching, it is the Empress in reverse. So interesting that we got 2 very feminine signs in reverse. 2 very receptive signs in reverse. The Empress to me is all about, creating a reality with ease, allowing things to come to you allowing yourself to be more receptive, and understanding that you don't have to force things to come your way. Understanding that you have the magic, you have the ability to create without forcing it, to just kind of almost slightly nudge things into place rather than forcing them into place. Now, with this in reverse, it makes me think that we are going to have to be a little bit more aggressive. Or, I'm sorry, I jumped ahead of myself. This is clarity for the Queen of Pentacles. So this is about the kind of loss that we're having during this time. So, maybe it's that loss of flow, right? And that's followed by the Ace of Swords. So swords are our ideas, they're our communication, they're our thoughts. And when I think of the Ace of Swords, I think of brand new ideas. It's a brand new idea that you have. Let's sit with this for a second. Okay. So I feel like what's happening here, as Pluto makes its transit, or as Pluto stays in its new home of Aquarius, is you have some sort of new idea that comes along that really pushes you out of that receptive energy, right? This new idea is something that is so different than where you currently are, that is so different from where you are currently residing and existing, where you can just slightly nudge things to go the way that you want them to, that you actually have to make a hard right. You're doing a full, sharp 90-degree turn rather than just a slight turn. And it's almost, I get with a sense of excitement that you are making these big changes in your life, because you're not going to just sit there and do nothing with your energy, right? An Empress and a Queen don't have new ideas and just sit on them. They activate them. They get things rolling. And so, maybe it's a good thing that you're without these resources, right? It seems to be maybe a little bit more in our control than maybe we originally anticipated, which I like to see. We don't want to have a tight grip on reality and on control, but we do want to have just a little bit to make sure that things don't go too crazy. So that's looking a little bit better than I anticipated. That's a little bit of a relief. So what about this moon? Can I get some clarity on the moon card? Some clarity on the moon. I mean, right off the bat, knowing that we have new ideas, fresh ideas, and that they aren't going to be able to be implemented gently, that alone is the unknown, right? But a little clarity never hurt anybody. The Hierophant in reverse, interesting. And the Seven of Pentacles right side up. Okay, can we talk about how many major arcana you've received so far? We have the Moon, we had the Empress, and now we have the Hierophant. Okay. We like seeing that. Lots of punchy change. Now, granted, let's keep in mind, this is a massive transit, right? A massive transit. No matter what happens here, you're going to be a different person by the time Pluto moves into the next sign. Nobody wants to stay the same person for 20 years. Oh, hiccups there, right? Like, we always want to change. We always want to expel the bad. We always want to grow as a person. But I'm nosy. I want to know now what's going to happen, right? So we're going into the unknown. We are trusting our intuition while we go on this adventure, implementing these ideas that we have. And I think the reason why it's going to be so unknown is because it's going to be something that has never happened before. That's why we have to make such a hard right turn, right? We can't go and rely on old methods. This is something that is radical and that is new. And the Hierophant represents traditions. He represents, rules and regulations, and we've always done it this way, so we're always going to do it this way. But you're flipping him on his head. And what's interesting is you're flipping him on his head and then immediately going into the Seven of Pentacles and kind of taking a moment to stop and smell the roses. So it almost seems like even just the beginning processes are going to be very fruitful for you, right? We're going from the Queen of Pentacles in reverse to the Seven of Pentacles upright. And she's very whimsical, right? She's sitting with this sunflower, a beautiful sign of happiness, and going, wow, I'm really enjoying all of these changes that I've made, like right off the bat. How lucky is that? How lucky. So it's unknown because it's never been done before, not because of some big scary thing, right? It's not unknown because it's out of our control, because it is within our control. It's not unknown because it's scary. And I mean, the unknown is scary, but like right off the bat, this eases my fears. The Seven of Pentacles, oof, weight off my shoulders immediately. It's just something that nobody's ever thought to do before, right? And you're just the right person to think about it. Whatever it is that you're implementing in your life, whatever it is that you're implementing, maybe at home, maybe at a job, maybe just in any aspect of your life, it's a brand new concept. And so you get to feel out the way that you want it to be. And because you actually have that much control, because like if you're making the way, then you can shape what it looks like. That's why it's so satisfying. Maybe these things needed to be let go of because they weren't satisfying to you. And I'm going to come back to this because I want to get a little bit more detail on what it is that we're shaking up. But I do want to go ahead and jump into the Six of Wands. So, Six of Wands, can I get some clarity here? What is it that we're celebrating in particular? And the Six of Wands to me always feels like not just recognition, but public recognition. It's not just one or two people being like, wow, you did a really great job. Like, I see what you did there. It's a fantastic thing that we implemented here. But no, this is like big parade kind of celebration. It's often depicted with a parade. And I'm sorry, like as a Leo with a lot of Leo in their chart, my ego loves that. I love that for us here. So what is it that we're celebrating? What is it that we're being recognized for? The Eight of Wands, interesting. It is in reverse. The Eight of Wands reverse. So it's not a massive departure from where you are, which feels a little different. Okay. And then the King of Pentacles. Okay. The Wheel. The bottom of the deck was the Wheel in reverse. Oh, okay, I get it. Okay. So what you're doing is something that is brand new, but that's because people have been stuck on this one, we'll say module. I'm sorry, that's the word that's here for me. This one concept or this one module, this one source, this one fundamental way of doing things, right? And when they build upon that, they do that. They build upon the structure that's already been created. But you're not going far. You're staying relatively close despite it being wildly different. And that is because you are building a new foundation. You're building an absolutely new foundation. You're turning the wheel back, right? Because that foundation doesn't really work for you. It doesn't really work for most people. Wow, I'm realizing what this means for me personally. That's very exciting. I'll talk about that on my Instagram if you're nosy, or I might leave it in the comments. Anyway, you're building a whole new foundation because it doesn't work for you, which is why we are the Queen of Pentacles in reverse and the Empress in reverse. But it also doesn't often work for other people. It's one of those things that work because people say it works, right? But the reality is that it maybe works for about 25% of people. There's way more people out there like you than maybe you think. And we're all just a little too awkward to say, I don't get it. It doesn't work for me. And that's okay, because now you have the energy, you have the inspiration, you have the idea to take it all the way back to the foundation and then crack it open. Just really take a sledgehammer to it, turn it from a platform to gravel. We're going to melt that gravel down. We're going to heat it up. We're going to turn it into cement, and we're going to lay down a new foundation. You're using the same ingredients to create a different recipe, right? Maybe that's too many metaphors, sorry. And then after that, now you're building a new structure. And whatever that structure is, I mean, we've got the King of Pentacles. And unlike his wife, he's looking quite chummy. He's looking quite pleased with himself. And not only does he have this giant gold coin, he also has this beautiful chest, and it has a white rose, right? So whatever you're doing here, don't feel any guilt about what you're doing, what you're changing, right? You might feel bad for shaking up the system so much because you're probably gonna get a little bit of resistance. That 25% of people who've always liked how it was, they're not gonna want that change to happen, but only because they think it works for everyone. They're not realizing that that 75% is out there struggling, but you do, right? And so it's not that you're going in with bad intentions, and you're not trying to make that 25% of people's lives harder, because they are going to have to learn a new way. But what's going to happen is that instead of them receiving, a 15% increase of satisfaction from whatever the result is, they're going to get an 85% increase of satisfaction. This really is a win-win for everyone. So don't let anyone who is guilting you, don't let anyone who is giving you a hard time for trying to reinvent the wheel get to you. Don't let them bother you, because really you're doing it for your own good, and you're doing it for the good of every single other person. So wow. I said I was originally going to go back to this, but we got so much clarity with the Six of Wands that I don't think that we need to anymore. So this does not have a timeline. None of this has had a timeline. I've been stuck with the number 6, which I think is pretty cool since we got the Six of Wands earlier. But 20 years, that's too long. I'm too nosy for that. I wish I had a dice. I don't have dice. I'm going to shuffle. And through this shuffle, I'm going to try and get some sort of idea for a timeline. When is this going to happen? When is this gonna happen? This is when I need, like, Scrabble tiles, or like a dice, or something with some sort of concept of time, or like just straightforward numbers. But let's use this jumper. Okay, the Queen of Swords. Okay, so for real, this doesn't even have a number. It happens in your own time. It happens when you get bold enough to cut through the bullshit. When you get bold enough to cut through your own bullshit. So maybe that's why you didn't get a number, because it's up to you, right? When you get tired of listening to all the bullshit about how well the system works, how wonderful it is, that's when you're going to kickstart all of this. I do get the sense that it is going to be rather fast. You have too many major arcana in every single pile for it not to be something that happens fast. Because I feel like once you think of the idea, you're not going to be able to hold back. You're not going to be able to sit down for long without implementing this, because you know how radical it's going to change your life. So very, very interesting. And keep in mind that Pluto has already been going back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn for the past year with the retrogrades, right? Like, it's already been subtly changing and dancing. So you may have already thought of this idea. Now, I will say, I don't know. I don't feel like waiting to talk about it on my Instagram. I think for me, personally, I think this might be about my alter ego journal that I'm creating. If you don't know about it, alter ego is a self-paced journal that I've created that helps you identify your divine self and then create a path to become your divine self. And we do this from the angle of a worshiper. You are your own acolyte. You are your own worshiper, and you offer up things like your time, maybe researching, maybe reading to better your mental health, maybe working out to better your physical vessel. You do this through offerings of making a proper savings account so you can buy that home that you've always wanted, and just giving yourself step by step sustainable offerings, sustainable change in your life in order to become this divine version of yourself. And really, this all kickstarted for me because manifesting does not work for me. And I realized that why would I manifest for one little part of my life to change when I could just change my entire life in a sustainable way? But manifesting has never worked for me because it is feelings based. And I don't know what neurospicy part of my brain has a problem identifying with my feelings. But as a result, classic manifesting techniques don't work for me. So this is my new manifesting technique. So that very well correlates. I promise I didn't plan this to be a shameless plug of my new product, but I am absolutely not mad at it. You can get the digital download of Alter Ego on Valentine's Day. It'll be available as a classic PDF, and it will also be available as a digital download that you can upload to GoodNotes, because I know a lot of y'all love GoodNotes. Don't forget that you can also book a personal tarot reading, timeline jump, or divine chat on my website, venusblooms.com. If you miraculously made it this long and you're still here, please let me know if this resonates for you. If you know what aspect of your life you're going to tear from the ground up, leave a little sword emoji if you feel so called to do. I think you knew what I meant here. Obviously, I've had a couple of tongue trips, blah, 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 a couple of times during this reading. But I appreciate you taking the time to be here. I appreciate you listening and holding space and sharing space with me. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye. Bye, my little rainbows. Y'all are my little rainbows. Bye.